to talk about something that will affect everybody in the sense that sustainability is a topic that is of importance to all of us. So while we are sorting out the technical issues, and I really hope that we can make it work. We tested it before, and Murphy's Law holds. If something can go wrong, it normally will. So let's okay, something does. Oxygen is a new approach, a different approach to what is typically known as carbon trading, carbon markets, etc. We started this project about 5 years ago, and we had a simple proposition. We wanted to know exactly how, where, and when every 1 ton of carbon is sequestered on the planet by figuring out a way of measuring carbon sequestration of terrestrial carbon sinks as well as marine carbon sinks. So if I take a look at taking you step by step in the overall process, first of all, what is Oxygen? It's a technology platform for assessing, quantifying, and eventually trading real science-verified carbon sequestration capacity. That is secured and tracked through what we call blockchain technology. The first thing that we need to arrive at is a standardized scientific data that is used to assess each carbon sink. We also have to look at a rigorous onboarding methodology of what we call converters. Who are converters? Converters are those who own the carbon sink, the stakeholders of the carbon sink. And we need to include independent assessment, audits, and monitoring. The next thing we do is we ask the converters how they intend to use the funds, the revenue. And based on their program, we identify the SDGs that are affected by those programs. And then the converters are linked accordingly. And the platform allows B2B transactions. The whole process is secure, immutable, and transparent, as all the data is maintained in a secure way on our blockchain. So in a summary, it's a platform. We have trading units, which we call GAIAs. The GAIAs are a tokenized carbon sequestration capacity of precisely 1 metric ton of carbon, which we'll go into more detail. We have buyers, we have sellers. We have a business process. We have transaction currencies. Those are fiat currencies as well as cryptocurrencies. We have a market. What market are we talking about? As we speak today, it's over 260 billion US dollars a year, growing. What we can also do is that for the first time, on the right-hand side, we are linking SDGs through the corporate social responsibility statement of a company, and that can then also be linked to the ESG criteria of their potential, basic investors. So at the end of the day, we have emitters who are emitting CO2. We have converters who are drawing down CO2. We have a platform. So let me show you how it works. And then we'll look behind to see further the value proposition. So looking at the platform itself, you arrive at the platform, and let's say you want to sign up. Let me go back here to show you the sign-up process. And you can choose whether you are an emitter or a converter. Let's say you are an emitting company, which most of you are, whatever it is that you're doing. So you put in your details. You have an OTP verification, put in your corporate details, and at the end of the day, you arrive at your home page, your web space. Initially, what we do, we go through a KYC process to confirm whether you are really who you are, and once that is confirmed, your web space goes live. Now you can communicate with the world. So here's an example of a company called Izen. It's an aviation company in Switzerland. And you can create your own corporate communication right here. You have your carbon footprint, in this case 10,000 tons, 4,000 of which have been covered. And these are the transacted sinks that they have done business with. You have an indication of your wallet, which shows you here. We haven't spoken about that yet, but the blue, green, and white Gaias. Blue Gaias meaning carbon sequestration capacity that has been acquired from a marine carbon sink. A green Gaia is from a terrestrial carbon sink, and a white Gaia through an industrial process. Your available exclusive payment tokens on the system, which we call CUI, and actually at the same time you also see the conversion between the CUI and the US dollar. So let's say you have signed up and you want to look for converters. You put in the number of Gaias, region, in this case it's Southern Africa, the type of carbon sink, let's say a terrestrial. You can put in your sustainable development goals that you as a company want to be affiliated with, search, and you will then see the different search results. You hover over it, and you see the summary information of one of our converters, the biodiversity conservation in Madagascar. They are profiled with SDG 2, 4, 6, and 11, and they currently have 10,000 Gaias, or 10,000 metric tons of carbon sequestration capacity available at a price of 20.45 KOI, i.e. 20.45 US dollars a ton. You can get more information. You can say, you know what, I want to purchase their capacity. You click on purchase, put in the number of Gaias that you want. The price comes up. You proceed. The total amount shows up. You agree, you pay, and the transaction has been done. At which point you can view the transaction report, which I'll show you afterwards. You can also have a list of preferred converters. In this case, they have chosen 3, one in Madagascar, the Puka community in Honduras, and in Kasi district in Tanzania. Again, profiled with the SDGs, the amount of Gaias available, and the pricing that they have. You can also look at negotiations that you may be doing. So right now they have 2 negotiations going on, one with the Masai Mara in Kenya, and one with Nkasi district in Tanzania. So this was the offer that was made by the converter. They responded. There was a counter offer from the converter, and you can either put in another counter offer, withdraw, or accept. So let's say you want to withdraw. You withdraw, and effectively that offer has been withdrawn. So it's a very flexible platform, very transparent. You can also look at the transactions that they have done, in this case Izen, and you can see that there are transactions listed here, You hover over one of them, click on it, and it gives you the details of that particular transaction. In this case, it was a green Gaia transaction, 2450 that was purchased, which we just did before, the remaining capacity of Gaias, and the price per Gaia that was paid for. You have an order summary. You then have the geolocation. This is an outline of the Bianca forest, and the northern part of the forest blown up here, and within that area, this is the area that was purchased as far as the carbon sequestration capacity, right down to a resolution of 1 metric ton each, 1 Gaia each. In this case, it's got a timestamp from 05 August 2019 to 04 August 2020, over 365 days. In this area, 2,450 metric tons was sequestered, scientifically verified, and you get the audit report summary. Gaia ownership has been transferred, and you can download the entire transaction report. So this, in a nutshell, is the way the transaction works. Now, if you are a converter, again, you can sign up as a converter. Let's say you have a piece of land, a territory, a district. You can sign up. This time you indicate you are a converter. You put in the converter details that you have, the converter name, account manager, email ID, a password, and you move on. Verify by email, more information, sync locations, details, and you upload the images. If you have images of your sync, you can add new images, audiovisual content. You can upload the SDG program, of which I'll show you afterwards, and you put in additional documentation to confirm the ownership. We go through a KYC process, it's audited, and then once confirmed, you go live. In this case, we're talking of the Masai Mara in Kenya, and they can also upload audiovisual content. Again, you see a similar thing, what they have on their wallets, the amount of green Gaias that they have, what is available, the negotiations going on. They can also put in a search for converters, a location, Geneva, Switzerland, and they can see both converters as well as emitters. You hover over one, you see it, you can click on that, and it takes you to the space of the interested party that you want to know more information about. And so you can see information about what they have uploaded and what they have done on the system. You can also see the negotiations that you as a converter are actually having. So these are the negotiations going on. Let's click on Masai Mara, and you can see that there's a current negotiation going on with emitters. One is Aizen and one is Nissan in Japan. Again, they can accept, they can decline, they can make a counter offer. We can make a counter offer, lower the price in this case. You place the offer, you confirm it, and the counter offer has been done. It goes live, it's visible on the other side. Okay? You can take a look at your wallets based on the transaction histories, as well as go direct to the transaction history. You can see what Aizen Airlines has actually transacted. You can click on that, and again, you get the details. This is the Masai Mara forest, the outline within this area. We're looking at this particular area that was transacted. You have an audit report summary, Gaia ownership has been shifted, and you can download the entire transaction report. Again, the resolution goes down to each one Gaia. Each one Gaia has the full database, including its own unique satellite image, indicating exactly where, how, and when that particular 1 ton of carbon was sequestered. So no two Gaias are the same. Each one is unique. So this is in a nutshell how the system works. So let's go back and look at some more information, a bit more background. So if I go to the next slide, what do you get? You get certified carbon sequestration capacity. The transaction fee is 2.5%, which means that 97.5% is the flow from the buyer to the seller. If you go to the current market and you go to the global carbon market, you're looking at commissions of 30 to 40%. Those are the official ones. And you still don't know where the money goes. Each verified carbon sequestration capacity is then tokenized every 1 ton. And you have the unique scientific database. I just mentioned the satellite image. And you also have the links to the algorithms, the scientific papers, the methodologies, etc. I'll give you a quick glimpse of that afterwards. So, what are we talking about? We're linked into the Global Science Network. We're using peer-reviewed scientific methodologies. Our link into the scientific node is the ETH in Zurich, the Swiss Federal Technical University of Zurich, which is then linked to NASA, European Space Agency. We're using also a lot of work together with Google. And we have independent auditors and scientific assessors. There's Restore, which is a collaboration between the ETH and Google. We have the Crowther Lab, which is a multidisciplinary research lab embedded within the ETH in Zurich. And we also work with the BIOS, the Bermuda Institute of Ocean Sciences, which is today part of Arizona State University in the States. And we use their methodologies to assess the marine carbon sequestration capacity, again, using satellite data. So, in a summary, what you eventually get is the transaction report, a summary with a QR code that you are now able to link to APIs and be able to use that to communicate to your clients. So, sake of argument, Nestle has Nespresso. They determine what the carbon footprint was for that production batch. They take that production batch, they decide to make it carbon neutral by purchasing carbon sequestration capacity from, for example, a converter that may be on our system. Let's say the producer of coffee in Ethiopia, Honduras, Guatemala, wherever the coffee comes from, and they are part of the system. That QR code can then be used on the product so that the clients can scan it, not just see that it's carbon neutral, but they can see whatever information that Nestle wants to share with the clients. And with that, they get back onto our system and they get all the information that they need. So that we're really talking about transparency here. So, with the converters, again, there's a repeat, but I will effectively say the following. So once you do the application, you get a sequestration, estimate. Audits and checks are done. The profile definition of the program is linked to the SDGs, and this is effectively how the sequestration estimation looks like. So let's look at behind the scenes, and this is actually quite fascinating. Now, what I'm doing is I am linking from here, Abu Dhabi, from the Millennium Hotel, through the available Wi-Fi, I'm linking into our back engine. So let's see how that works. So I'm going to show you the science, the verification process, and the SDG program. So let's keep our fingers crossed and see that that works. So if we go here, I'm showing you the Serengeti in Kenya. So let me zoom out so that we can see roughly where we are. This is the east coast of the African continent. We have Kenya, Tanzania, Somalia. By zooming in, we get an appreciation of the amazing resolution that we can see right down to individual trees. And we can really begin to appreciate quite a lot of things. By zooming out, and again we're at the Masai Mara, we can see amongst other things the current and the potential organic carbon content of the soil. We can also see the sequestration capacity, the verified sequestration capacity from the year 2000 all the way to the year 2020. So it's not a constant. It changes every year. We don't know what the numbers for 2021 will be because we haven't done the assessment yet, or we're in the process of doing that. The curve will most probably come down, the chances are. We also get a lot of information, let me zoom out here, about the different ecosystems. So we're talking about an area of 170,000 hectares, and with different ecosystems which we can visualize on the system. And by zooming in, that resolution then increases, and we can really work with the communities and help them to understand what is happening, which is all parts of the assessing and the monitoring that we are doing. We can also come up with some interesting additional information, which, let's say we want to know how many trees are being lost over time, which we have this information here. So by visualizing that, what you see in orange here is effectively the tree loss that has occurred over that time period. Not only do we see that as a totality, but we can also see how it changes over time. So we can see that between the year 2012 and 2013, there was a lot of tree losses. And in total, that's what we have. And so we can also help our converters, our clients, to monitor what is going on. Okay? So there's, in addition, if we want to also take a look at specific tree types and type of vegetation that can be used for restoring of the soil to enhance the carbon sequestration capacity, we can do that as well. Okay? Now, I want to show you, we just had a conversation just before me about Maidar City. So while we were speaking, my colleague was speaking about Maidar City, I quickly did a check on Bogda Mountain. And so this is now, shows you the power, how relatively quickly we can respond and interact with our clients. So this is Mongolia. This is Ulaanbaatar. Maidar City is to the south the southeast of Ulaanbaatar. The area we're looking at is an area of 38,000 hectares. That's the mountain area, which is a protected area. Now, let us say we want to know how does the overall ecosystem look like. So there again, we can visualize what is happening. And we can see that the purple areas are human habitation. The orange areas are agricultural land, and the light green is steppe, the dark green are trees. And so we can see that. We can also see that in the year 2020, they had an absorption of 138,000 tons of carbon in that polygon, which went slightly up for the year 2021 to 140,000 tons. So if we look at the price of carbon on the European market, at the beginning of the year 2021, it was 32 euros a ton. That has gone up over the year, so from 2021 to the beginning of January the 3rd, it went from 33 to 84 euros. So we're talking about a very interesting commodity here, right? And the price continued this year. It peaked at 96 euros, started coming down, and then the shooting war started in the Ukraine. The price crashed at the end of February. It came down to, 56 euros? But meanwhile, we're back at 76, 78 euros. So we're talking about a commodity that has value. In other words, carbon sequestration capacity is something we should be all aware about. For those of you interested, when I did a TED Talk in 2017, the price of carbon on the European market back then, in November 2017, was 7 euros. Today it's 78 euros. A tenfold increase in less than 5 years. So this is food for thought. So take a pick here. Let's say it's 50 euros. 50 euros, we look at the carbon sequestration of 2021, that's 140,000 tons. So if it's 140,000 tons, and we get 10 euros a ton, that's 1.4 million. 1.4 million times 50, if I'm not mistaken, that's 70 million euros. What this means is that if Mongolia signs up with Oxyzen tomorrow, they can offer this carbon sequestration capacity on the market at 50 euros a ton for a potential revenue of 70 million euros. So this national park that is most probably listed as a cost center within the budget of the government, we can transform that into a revenue point. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the value. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the potential. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call nature-based solutions that can kickstart a new economic model. That's the power that we're talking about. So let me go back to the presentation. So, what are we really talking about? We have an imbalance. That's what we see here. We're aiming to achieve a planetary balance. And we can only do that if we increase the carbon sequestration capacity on the planet. In order to do that, we need to give a financial incentive. And that's exactly what we can do here. So where are we right now with regards to, Oxyzen? As of March 2022, we have over 60 million hectares. We have over 100 million tons of certified carbon sequestration capacity. We work with 15 ambassadors in Asia, Africa, EU, the CARICOM, and the Americas. These are Oxyzen ambassadors. We have converters. We have currently over 120 million tons of sequestration capacity based on terrestrial carbon sinks, as well as 2 exclusive economic zones of 2 nations. They have declared their exclusive economic zones as marine carbon sinks, and are thereby also able to monetize the carbon sequestration and use those funds. So the question that we can ask now is, how do some of these people want to use the funds? So if we look at the pre-launch sale that we have just started now, I will try to zoom in so that some of you can see it. So let's look at the Masai Mara, Masai Mao Conservancy, or in short, the Masol Conservancy, okay? So we're talking of different carbon sinks. These are the areas in hectares, the current and the potential organic carbon content for the year 2020, what we measured, and then what we do is we use a scientific algorithm to reduce the margin of error. That is to take care of the margin of error. So we use 70% of that, and this is effectively what you get. And it's linked to the SDGs. So how is it linked to the SDG? One more minute. So here is an assessment which we did for the Masai Mara Conservancy of 170,000 hectares, 2.5 million metric tons for the year 2020. That equates to 1.7 million green Gaias. And here you get an indication of the revenue potential based on the different price ranges. The program, and then I'll end, that they have done so that you can appreciate what it is that they would like to do is the community, together with the local governments, have developed a program for the year 2022 to 2025. We're talking of 287,000 people, 89,000 people in these districts, and they have come up with areas of concentrations which we call a pillar. So conservation and environment, these are the SDGs on the right that are affected by it. Education is another area. Healthcare, women and youth empowerment, again, the SDGs affected. Water, climate change adaptation and mitigation, and at the end of the day, the distribution of the funds based on a percentage basis of those points. It is done as a commitment of the community, signed by the community leaders, and witnessed by the Oxygen ambassador in Kenya. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a value proposition that not only enables CO2 emitters to, for the very first time, account for emissions through scientifically verified carbon sequestration capacity. You deal directly with the converters, who are the ones that are sequestering that carbon. You can see what they're doing. You can link it to your corporate social responsibility statements as well as the SDGs that you want. And for the very first time, we really are offering a win-win situation. And sustainability can also be of financially beneficial on all sides. I would like to end it here. I thank you for your attention, and let's go for it, guys.